All right, so that's pretty cool. We can see that the hammer and feather fell at the same rate. That confirms they did this in. So in the vicinity of the moon is a very low pressure area. So very nice for there. Now, the question you may have is, how fast did it fall? Did it fall matching moon gravity or Earth gravity? Well, I have counted the frames. This particular video we're looking at is at 29.97 frames per second. It took 36 frames to fall.
The film is affected by the vacuum of space, as we've established. We've used vacuum chambers. We've had it confirmed by universities, University of Patras, that photographic film is seriously affected by vacuum. The two spacecraft are the Hexagon spy satellite, that's the KH-9. It was a very successful spy satellite. It was to replace the U-2 spy plane. It's the size of a school bus, and it used photographic film. Now, I attended in 2018 a presentation given by the designer of the camera system on the Hexagon spy satellite. And he said that the film from the spools through to the camera into the buckets from which they were dropped to be caught by planes, believe it or not, it's for real, had to be kept under pressure, 1.5 pound per square inch of pressure. The other satellite that used photographic film was the Lunar Orbiter. The Lunar Orbiter flew in 1966 to photograph landing sites for the proposed Apollo missions. The film was carried on the spacecraft in a pressurized container. As NASA, it was researched by Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and they said that it had to be pressurized because otherwise the moisture within the film would be removed and the film would become useless.
And that's fine. I don't mind you looking silly. That's kind of what I do. I shine a spotlight on people that are,
without getting into a meta
like
discussion.
that, so.
Let's try to move into some new territory if we feel like we've hammered this.
Personal attacks. Personal attacks are out of order. Stop doing it at once.
Cool. Got it.
Do not make personal attacks. It is quite unnecessary.
Yeah. Hey, if you can't handle math, if you can't handle pressure, it's on you.
It totally demeans your position. Stop it at once. Behave yourself. I've read the book you recommended. Thank you for that, by the way. It was very helpful. Whether I follow it to the letter, that's the one. I got my own copy here somewhere.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah. I bought it.
Page 22.
I've read it. I've studied it. I thought, this man knows what he's doing. I must be able to match it. Whether I can or not, of course, is completely up to you to decide. I did ask you the question, who was the person who asked me the original question at that meeting?
Irrelevant. Yeah, it's irrelevant.
Well, you can decide it is irrelevant. I claim that it's necessary to know the answer. You may say it's irrelevant because I happen to have answered your question fairly.
Okay, well then jump ahead to the answer part of it instead of rambling around.
Don't interrupt me when I'm speaking.
Let's just, we'll let you explain it.
It is rather rude to do so. And given that we're on Zoom here, it is confusing for our audience when you interrupt. When I stop speaking, then you speak. When you stop speaking, I speak. And Ryan makes sure that we obey the rules.
I'm doing my best. And I will say, for context, I don't mean to cut you off myself as well, Marcus. I did put a poll in the live chat, so just to give you guys context of our audience this evening, was the moon landing a hoax? So far, 40% have voted yes, 53% have voted no, and 7% have voted for the troll part of the poll, which is, you believe in the moon?
It's interesting you say that 40%, that people are interested in the subject. 40% think that there are questions to be answered. Let's put it that way. And that maybe a majority think the reverse. But that is considerably higher than some of the polls conducted about 20 years ago when it was about 6%. So maybe we're getting a little advanced. We're producing the evidence. We're producing some questions. And that famous quote from the splendid scientist Richard Feynman, he said, "I prefer questions that cannot be answered to answers that cannot be questioned."
So this is sped up to the speed that you claimed, Marcus. You claimed that this is how much they had to speed it up. So this would be the speed that it was recorded, according to you, Marcus. This is, I did the math on this. It would have had to be 2.5 times faster. You said it was somehow some special effect to do it. That's fine. But this is how fast it would have had to been done. You see how fast he's moving there? You see how fast this camera's moving? Starting here with a handheld recorder. This was not live broadcast, but you can see here, this is the cool thing about this is how far they're going. Now, whether this, I know Marcus might attempt to claim that this was a scale model of, and then it was then radio controlled. Of course, he will provide evidence for that, or I will dismiss it. This set in a vacuum, the entire set, because it's a larger area than any known vacuum chamber on Earth. So Marcus would need to provide the documentation for the building of this gigantic, the biggest vacuum chamber ever built. And further, he would have to somehow show how the gravity was made to be significantly lower than on Earth.
How many photographs were taken on the lunar surface by the named astronauts? Do you know, Mike?
Your chance for evidence. Go ahead.
I'm asking you, do you know the answer to that question?
I'm giving you a chance to present your evidence.
Thank you, Mike. I assume from that you don't actually know the answer to how many photographs were taken by the named astronauts on the lunar surface. The answer is 5,771. It's very easy to calculate.
Bring forth the evidence.
I have. I just produced the evidence of the number of photographs taken on the lunar surface.
Oh my gosh.
To my knowledge, there are 4 websites which carry every single photograph taken on the lunar surface. You're being stupid now, Mike. Stop it.
I'm waiting for you to stop rambling and get to a point. Come on. Chop, chop.
It seems that every time I produce some information, let's call it that, and I can't show chapter and verse of where that information comes from, I'm either a liar or I don't know what I'm talking about. That is incorrect. I do know what I'm talking about. I've spent a long time doing this. And if Mike wants to do his Rubik's Cube, then he's perfectly entitled to do it. So I shall carry on. Hello, Mike. You listening?
Chop, chop.
Thank you. Thank you. We were talking about photographs on the lunar surface, 5,771. Easy to find out that is correct by going on to any of the 4 websites. Lunar Planetary Institute website is the one I prefer because it's very well laid out, and you can look at each one. Now, there's a series of photographs here taken by Neil Armstrong of Buzz Aldrin exiting the lander.
Why did you claim that that was the only one?
It's the only one that's ever been used.
No, that wasn't your claim. You've moved the goalpost. You said this is the only one.
I appreciate what you're saying, Michael. I appreciate that. Obviously, your purpose tonight is to demonstrate that I'm completely wrong, completely conspiratorially minded, don't know what I'm talking about, and shouldn't even be on this debate. Well, thank you for that.
Super. I'm showing you photograph after photograph right after you claimed there was only one. Why did you make that claim? This was easy. This was trivial.
Why are you so determined to come up with petty little problems like
Because
this?
you're lying.
I'm not lying. Don't accuse me of lying, Michael.
You did. You just said that that was the only photograph, and I'm
Or
showing
I
you
will
dozens.
accuse you of being an important, pompous idiot.
Go ahead.
I
Don't
have.
care.
Okay, sorry about that. Here's a piece of moon rock.
Giving
No, I'm
me
not
that
supposed to
big
have a
warning
piece of
again.
moon rock. It's an American government property. How come I've got it?
I don't know.
You may recall about 25 years ago, the complete filing cabinet containing the 382 kilos of moon rock was stolen from the Johnson Space Center. Somebody walked in with a trolley, picked up the filing cabinet, which contained all the moon rock, put it in the back of his pickup and drove off. He was found, identified, and I think he was imprisoned for theft of government property. But do we know that all moon rock was returned? We don't. Piece of moon rock. How do you know
Okay.
it's a piece of moon rock?
I don't know.
Because I say so.
Oh, well, do you have a geologist analyze it?
Oh, yes. Look, it's very similar to quite a lot of the photographs of moon rocks which we see.
Okay, but I asked if you had a geologist analyze it.
No, I'm not going to have a geologist analyze it because it would
Okay.
spoil my story,
Okay.
wouldn't it?
Okay, then I would. I don't
It's
care.
a piece of moon rock.
It
Now,
doesn't matter. You're just making an assertion. Cool.
yeah, I'm asserting that it's a piece of moon rock. Is there a problem
Okay.
with that?
Yeah, because it didn't get accompanied with any analysis by somebody that has an understanding of how to analyze it.
I haven't claimed to have analysis. I'm just saying it's a piece of moon rock. There are three major problems to what I'm saying. The Russians, they didn't blow the whistle, did they? So it must be true. The rocks, well, we've just shown the rocks. And then we find the famous Dutch moon rock, which wasn't moon rock at all. It was petrified wood.
I hope you do know the story behind that.
Of course, I know the story behind it.
Okay, why did you bring it up then?
Because at that point, I normally produce my piece of moon rock and say, here's a piece of moon rock. Which always gets a laugh. Now let's look at the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter photographs. Here they are. Right, here we go. Apollo 14, command module. Don't you think the handles would have got burnt off coming back in the atmosphere?
No, it was on the other side of the heat.
In that case, why would the Orion command module have heat shield all over it?
Different craft.
Yeah, it's a bit
Right.
bigger. It's Apollo 2.0. The Apollo command modules have aluminium handles on the outside, and there's obviously so much heat that the Orion craft requires heat shield all over it.
It's a
Odd that.
It's a different craft. You're not comparing apples to apples, Marcus. And it's different shield
come on.
material.
Come
They're,
on.
they're separated by decades. Oh, come on. Oh, come on.
Yeah,
It's
no, come
completely
on.
different.
The point I'm making is that we know that that's how the two craft work together, with big bolts between the command module and the service module, which was separated prior to re-entry. And on the Orion craft, they required heat shield to cover the whole craft, which just seems a bit excessive. Okay, Apollo 17 liftoff. Ascent stage. That's the top bit. There it is, jumping up, but there's no exhaust visible.
We do have to move
Ryan,
on this.
I'm gonna bow out if this is what it's gonna be.
Well, I
But
was
if
gonna
he
say,
talks for 5 minutes after every damn question, this will not end. I'm not gonna wait.
well, I was gonna say,
So,
if we want to
chop. Don't you talk either. Ask the question. Go.
No need to get upset. All right, XX Vandrez and asks Marcus, can you please address the backwards film on your website? It destroyed your credibility for me. Can you clear that up? but I do want to get you guys into your closers because I know, I don't want to keep you here all evening, guys. So I do appreciate Mike and Marcus for being here. And you in the live chat, whether you agree with either of our speakers tonight, you should appreciate them being here and putting their ideas on the table. It takes a lot more to be here than to be there. So don't be whining too much in the old live chat. Now, you'll appreciate this, Marcus. I always do this UK style. Over to you, Mike. You have 1 minute on the floor.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Ryan. Thank you to James, and thank you to Marcus. I was aggressive, so that's how I am sometimes. And I called you out because I think that you did a few things that needed to be called out. But I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate that it's a very inconvenient time for you. So I think I showed that people were on the moon, and they did a live broadcast from it.
All right. Any thoughts on the other side?
Yeah, just to say that the evidence that would be produced may not be the evidence that you would want. So it doesn't necessarily prove one thing or the other. I said about the hammer and feather drop that any halfway decent special effects director could achieve exactly that on the moon or on Earth. It's not rocket science, the corner phrase. Thank you very much to James, to Ryan, and to Michael. I appreciate the effort, the time, and the energy you've put into this. And I'm sorry I was a bit late joining you, owing to my inability to operate the correct software. But we got there in the end. I've enjoyed our discussion. I thank you, Michael. If I was a bit aggressive occasionally, I apologize. I am British after all. That's one of my failings. Some of the problems that we've discussed, I think, need to be further discussed. I don't think we've reached an end result. We've reached conclusions in certain areas, and after the amount of research I have done, I still maintain what I said right at the beginning, that Apollo was a brilliantly executed propaganda exercise to demonstrate to the world the superiority of American technology. In that, it was extremely successful. Whether it was correct or not is another matter. But thank you for your attention. Thank you for listening.